Most criminals keep their misdeeds hidden, but the Zodiac Killer, as he called himself, was different from such criminals. He terrorized San Francisco with his murder spree from 1968 to 1969, teasing the cops with coded messages to the local newspaper. Although he claimed to have killed 37 people, he was directly linked to at least 5 murders. I like killing people because it's so much fun. It's more fun than killing wild game in the forest because man is the most dangerous animal of all. To kill someone gives me the most thrilling experience, claimed the Zodiac Killer in one of his letters. San Francisco's Zodiac Killer is one of the most infamous and most elusive serial killers of all time. He actually gave himself the title Zodiac in the cryptic letters he sent to the press during his murder spree. The letter often began with "This is the Zodiac speaking" and contained various cryptograms and taunts alluding to his planned murders. But who is the Zodiac Killer really? How did he murder his victims? And why is he so hard to catch? Can you even imagine what level of insanity this killer must be operating from? If you can't, let us in this video take you through the story of the Zodiac Killer. The story of the Zodiac Killer appears to have begun on the night of Friday, December 20, 1968. Betty Lou Jensen, just 16 years old, headed out for her first date. She was with David Arthur Faraday, a 17-year-old who was a top student and a varsity wrestler. They ended up parked just off Lake Herman Road, also known as the Lover's Lane in Vallejo, California. Sometime between 11:10 and 11:15 p.m., they were attacked. The killer put his gun to the boy's head and pulled the trigger, killing him while he was still in the car. Betty exited the vehicle, but the killer shot her in the back 5 times as she tried to run away. Jensen died of 5 gunshot wounds to her back at the scene, while Faraday died of a bullet wound to the head while he was being taken to the hospital. Minutes after midnight, as July 4, 1969 turned into July 5, the crimes continued with an attack on a man and woman at another Lover's Lane in Vallejo Blue Rock Springs golf course. This time, the man survived and offered a description of his attacker. There were also strange details surrounding the episode that may provide further clues as to the identity of the killer. The victims were Darlene Ferrin, age 22, and Michael Mageau, age 19. Darlene was married to Dean Ferrin, her second husband, and had a baby girl, so her presence at a Lover's Lane with Mageau required some explanation. Investigators learned that shortly before midnight, Darlene told her babysitters that she needed to buy fireworks for a party she was having that night. She asked the babysitters if they could stay until 12:15 a.m., so whatever she was up to, she didn't expect it to take long. Indeed, fireworks were readily available, sold at booths all over town. She picked up Michael Mageau, who noticed that they were being followed when Darlene pulled away from his house. Darlene drove faster, and a chase ensued. The chase ended when Darlene hit a log at the golf course, causing her car to stall. Whoever was pursuing them parked behind and to the left of Darlene's car, but then quickly drove off again. Any sense of relief was temporary, as the car returned 5 minutes later, parked the way it had before, and left the lights on. The driver shined a bright light in the faces of Darlene and Michael. The man got out of the car and approached them. The light went out. Michael thought it was a policeman. The two of them went for their wallets to get their IDs out. The man came to the passenger side, shined his flashlight in Michael's face again, and then began shooting. He began hitting and shooting Michael, but did far more damage to Darlene, who was hit 9 times. When the shooter returned to his car, Michael got a good look at him, but he also saw the man returning. The man fired another 2 shots at each of the victims. The golf course caretaker heard the gunshots around midnight, But the police didn't take his report seriously, thinking he heard only 4th of July firecrackers. 3 teenagers found the victims soon thereafter. When one of the teens called the police to report the shooting, the police realized they had made a serious mistake in not responding to the previous call as quickly as possible. They arrived too late to catch the killer, but they were in time to save Michael's life. There doesn't seem to be much rhyme or reason behind the killings, which made them all scarier. It seemed that the killer may have held a grudge against couples or lovers' points in particular. Investigators learned that Darlene went on dates with quite a few men, including policemen from the sheriff's office, despite being married. Thus, jealousy issues may have produced a long list of suspects. But a phone call made things more complex. The call was received by the Vallejo Police Department switchboard at 12:40 a.m., just 2 minutes after Darlene was declared dead. The call consisted of a man saying, "I want to report a double murder. If you go 1 mile east on Columbus Parkway to the public park, you will find kids in a brown car. They were shot with a 9mm Luger. I also killed those kids last year. Goodbye." In September 1969, the Zodiac changed up his modus operandi. He once again targeted a young college-age couple, Brian Hartnell and Cecilia Shefford, who were simply enjoying a picnic at Lake Berryessa. However, instead of simply shooting them, he made Cecilia tie up Brian before tying her up. Then, he drew a knife and stabbed them both repeatedly. Miraculously, Brian managed to survive despite 8 stab wounds to the back. The final confirmed Zodiac victim was a taxi driver named Paul Stein, who was shot in the head by a passenger. 3 days after Paul Stein's murder, the San Francisco Chronicle received a letter from the Zodiac claiming responsibility for the crime. At the end of the letter, the killer suggested he was going to shoot out a tire of a school bus and pick off the kiddies as they come bouncing out. 2 of the Zodiac's victims managed to survive, giving the police plenty of evidence to go on. Plus, the Zodiac didn't exactly hide from the spotlight. He sent at least 18 letters to both newspapers and private citizens during his murder spree. Despite the amount of available evidence, the police had no luck in discovering the killer's identity during the initial investigation. On July 31, 1969, the next communication from the killer came in the form of a letter sent to 3 area newspapers: the San Francisco Chronicle, the San Francisco Examiner, and the Vallejo Times-Herald. In the letters, in order to prove them genuine, the killer revealed information that only he and the police knew. The letter stated the details of the murders which were unknown to the public. Details such as the brand name of the ammo used, number of shots fired, the position in which his victims were found dead, ornaments his victims wore, and what body parts he shot them. In the letters, the killer asked the editorials to print his ciphers on the front page of the respective papers. He also warned that if his ciphers were not printed by Friday, 1st of August 1969, he would go on a killing rampage. He said he will cruise around all weekend killing lone people in the night, and then move on to kill again until he ends up killing a dozen people over the weekend. In lieu of a signature, the killer drew a symbol. Investigators, both professional and amateur, have found a great many interpretations of what the symbol represents. What does it make you guys think of? The other newspapers received similar letters. Each of the 3 letters was accompanied by a distinct cipher. On August 7, 1969, the killer sent the next preceding letters, which were 3 pages long. It was the first time in which he referred to himself as the Zodiac. The letters began with the infamous introduction: "This is the Zodiac speaking." By the way, are the police having a good time with the code? If not, tell them to cheer up. When they do crack it, they will have me, said the Zodiac, beginning the contents of his letter. Little did he know that the police had already cracked the code, but were still unable to get hold of the Zodiac Killer.
You can't hold this against them. But the real concern that I have is that he doesn't do this again. I'd like to see some people save this experience.
In the letter, he gave further details about his killing of the couple on July 4, 1969. He said that he did not open the car door. The window was rolled down already. He missed his first shot at the man sitting in the car. The man ended up on the back seat and the floor in the back, thrashing out very violently with his legs. That's how he shot him in the knee. He claimed that later he drove away slowly so as not to draw attention to his car. He also let his disappointment out and claimed that he was not happy to see that he did not get front page coverage the last time he had sent letters. The Zodiac Killer had expected that he would continue this game of chase and run with the police cleverly, and that his ciphers would not ever be deciphered. Maybe the Zodiac had this notion that he was too smart and intelligent for the law enforcement, or in fact this whole human race. The cipher texts were made available to the NSA, CIA, and FBI, but it was a pair of amateurs who saw ciphers in a newspaper article and cracked them. Donald Hardin, a high school history and economics teacher, began working on the ciphers and was later joined by his wife, Betty Hardin, who had no previous experience with cryptology. If you think you are smarter than the Zodiac Killer, you might want to pause the video here and try to decipher the code. But be warned that this is difficult, but if you are clever enough, you might be able to beat the husband and wife decipherment of 20 hours. The Hardins' work was complicated, but with the presence of some minor errors, they were able to decipher one of his other letters, which shocked the law enforcement and made them rethink their experience in dealing with insanity. I like killing people because it's so much fun. It's more fun than killing wild game in the forest because man is the most dangerous animal of all. To kill something gives me the most thrilling experience. It's even better than getting your rocks off with a girl. The best part of it is that when I die, I will be reborn in paradise and all the people I have killed will become my slaves. I will not give you my name because you will try to slow down or atop my collecting of slaves for my afterlife, said the Zodiac Killer's letter. The Zodiac Killer continued to kill and leave police with frustrating evidence, coded messages, anonymous phone calls, the cross circle scribbled on victims' automobiles, sending over blood-stained clothing, and testimonies from survivors. But it appeared to be one of the toughest tasks to catch him. There are more Zodiac communications that were deemed to be genuine, but there were no more ciphers received after January 29, 1974. It's worth noting that a long gap between letters suggested that the killer may have been in custody for lesser charges. Nothing was received from the killer between his letters of March 22, 1971 and January 29, 1974. The killer claimed in one of his letters that he had gone ahead and killed a total of 37 people, but the authorities believed it was pure fiction. None of the letters provided any evidence of Zodiac killing anyone after Stein. Some of the victims he claimed were really killed, but he failed to provide any evidence that he had anything to do with the murders. He had no knowledge of these killings that couldn't be found in newspaper accounts. In March 2004, the police marked the case as inactive, then reopened it again in 2008, but to no avail. Inspired by the success of the DNA investigation in the decades-old Golden State Killer case, the police renewed their investigation efforts at the end of 2018. They said that DNA technology has finally evolved enough to give the police and the victims' families new hope. Further, they added that there's a chance something could be extracted from the DNA samples which were not considered viable before. For example, the flaps of envelopes or stamps that might have been licked by the Zodiac Killer. Despite hope aroused by the DNA advancements, the Zodiac Killer has managed to evade the authorities to this day. Decades have passed since his murder spree, and the case still has thousands of potential aspects. All police departments have limited resources, both in terms of manpower and money that can be allocated to forensic research. Plus, the somewhat careless way in which genetic materials were handled before the evolution of DNA technology does not help the investigators move forward. However, the Zodiac enthusiasts remain convinced that the killer is not only alive, but that he can still be brought to justice. Are they right? Only time will tell. The Zodiac Killer may be one of the scariest murderers in San Francisco's history, but he's far from the only one. Crime writer Robert Gray Smith argued that the Zodiac Killer remained active through the 1980s and murdered dozens more people, though his view remained controversial. During the 1990s, several investigators claimed to have identified the Zodiac Killer. The suspect most often cited was Arthur Leigh Allen, a Vallejo, California school teacher who had been institutionalized in 1975 for child molestation, though his identification with the Zodiac Killer has never been confirmed or proved. What do you guys think? The art and science that is cryptanalysis are constantly improving, and computers are becoming ever more powerful. Do you guys expect the unsolved Zodiac ciphers to reveal the killer's identity? Or perhaps their eventual solutions will provide one extra clue that helps unravel the case? Do you guys think that this case, which shook law enforcement and highly influenced pop culture, will ever come to its resolution? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. If you liked the video, hit that like button, share this video, subscribe to our channel, and hit the bell icon to get notified whenever we come back with more such interesting cases.